The Laws of Ascension, Chapter 99, talks. Lorik slowly wakes up in an unfamiliar room. He sits up as pain consumes his right arm. He looks down and sees his hand wrapped in bandages. He then notices the bed beneath him, and the familiar panic rushes through him. The pain he felt all but fades away, giving way to the wave of panic. Lorik scurries to crawl off the bed and crashes to the ground. He lands on his right shoulder, causing pain to swiftly replace the panic. He groans while rolling onto his back. In between the pain, followed by panic, and then more pain, Lorik didn't notice a maid in the room. She left as soon as Lorik sat up without a word. After a few seconds of lying there, Lorik remembers what happened before passing out. "Nixfang!" Lorik shouts using his soul. "Master," Nixfang replies, speaking back with her soul. "Where are you?" Lorik asks while sitting up and looking around. "I'm in some stables with horses. They said there wasn't enough space in the house. I'm too far to return to your soul." Nixfang replies. "How are you holding up?" Lorik asks before getting a laugh in response. "Better than you. They told me the bones in your arm had multiple breaks. Even your ribs were broken and fractured. I was told that they healed you to the best of their abilities, but it'd take a while to heal. I didn't break anything, but I had lost a lot of blood. My wounds were pretty deep, apparently." Nixfang replies, "I'll come try to find you. Then we should probably return. I know someone in the black market who can heal me up with no problem. Master's gonna give me hell for this, though." Lorik replies before the door flies open. Cyrilda walks in, followed by the Lord of Ironhallow. "Lorik, how are your injuries?" Cyrilda asks while walking over to him. Lorik gets to his feet before holding up his right arm. "Been better, but I can move it again, so it's better than it was." Lorik replies while opening and closing his fist. "You couldn't move your arm?" Cyrilda asks in shock. Apparently, there were multiple breaks in the bone, though there were other wounds as well. Lorik replies, causing her to sigh. "Sorry to get to the point, but what happened in the mines?" The Lord asks. "No, I'll ask him later. For now, I'm taking him back to the capital to get treated. His health takes priority right now." Cyrilda says before reaching out. "Wait, Nixfang is in the stables. I have to go get her first." Lorik says before Cyrilda can teleport them. Cyrilda turns to the Lord without saying anything. He nods after a moment and turns around, leading the way to the stables. "I'll send someone to inform you of what happened after Lorik gets treated," Cyrilda tells the Lord as they walk. "If it's not too troublesome, I'd appreciate it if you could come back and tell me what happened as soon as you can. It'd be much faster than sending a messenger." The Lord asks as they leave the mansion. They start walking down a path from the back of the mansion. "I can't. I have other arrangements I can't get away from later. Besides, with the aid we sent, you won't suffer any losses if it takes a day or two to get to you." Cyrilda replies before they get to the stables. Lorik had been talking with Nixfang, who was waiting. She ran out of the stables and straight toward them. She runs past Cyrilda and the Lord and jumps to Lorik. She stops herself from tackling him and starts licking his face. Lorik stops her and she enters his soul. Cyrilda immediately activates her spell, teleporting the two of them back to her office. "Welcome back," King Eldrin says upon their return. He starts talking before noticing Lorik's condition. "What happened?" he asks as the two sit down. "They sent him in without a knight, that's what." Cyrilda angrily replies before disappearing. "I was supposed to go with a knight?" Lorik asks before Cyrilda returns with a healer. He's wearing a military uniform and immediately starts healing Lorik's injuries. "You should bring Nixfang back out," Cyrilda says as the healer gets to work. Nixfang comes out of Lorik's soul and waits as the healer treats Lorik. After half a minute, the healer finishes treating Lorik and turns to Nixfang. They heal Nixfang before Cyrilda teleports them back to where they came from. Nixfang returns to Lorik's soul as he and Cyrilda sit down. "How are you feeling now?" Cyrilda asks. "Much better." Lorik replies with a smile while stretching his arms. He suddenly winces as his right arm shakes a little. "Still a bit of pain, though," he says before lowering his arms. "So what happened?" "Start from when you got to Ironhallow," Cyrilda says. "First, I went to an inn. It was still night when we got there. After eating breakfast at the inn, I went to the Lord's mansion. I spoke with him, and he didn't tell me anything. He just said that I should return since they couldn't find anything." Lorik says before Eldrin interrupts him. Wait, he didn't tell you anything? Nothing about the disappearance or what happened? Did he at least send any knights with you? King Eldrin asks. No. Was he supposed to send a knight? Lorik asks again. Yes, we agreed to send a grand mage from the army to investigate if he allowed some students to investigate first. It would take time for this mage to be able to head there, so it worked out. But our condition was that he send a knight with them, just in case whatever caused the miner's disappearance was hostile. We didn't add this to the task details, as we didn't want the students to accept it, thinking it would be safe and easy. King Eldrin replies, Well, he didn't send a knight. I went to the mines alone and found a group of miners arguing. It sounded like they were arguing about going back into the mines or not. After talking with them, one of them led me up to the mine where the disappearance happened. Nixfang and I explored it, and I kept looking for their auras. Eventually, I saw their auras on the other side of a wall. It was at the end of a tunnel, and we broke into the cavern. Inside, I found 3 of the miners' dead bodies. There was a large pool of blood on the other side of the cavern. Above the blood was a tunnel on the ceiling. I'm not sure where it led, but we heard a roar come from it. We decided to turn and run, since we had no idea what it was. But it gave chase, and there were 2 of them, Lorik says. Do you know what this monster was? King Eldrin asks. No, I've never seen nor heard of anything like it. It had 2 arms and legs like a human, but they had 2 elbows and 2 knees, or at least could bend their arms and legs like they had them. Their arms and legs were also thin, about the width of a bone. They had gray skin that tightly wrapped around their ribcage and pelvic bone. They had a foot-long mouth full of razor-sharp teeth that stretched past the side of their heads. They also had a bunch of eyes that were spread all over their head. They even went around the back of their head. Oh, and they had 7 claws for fingers and 3 toes. Lorik replies, causing them to go silent. They looked like this, Nixfang says while coming back out of Lorik's soul. She creates a sculpture of the creatures made out of ice with her law. Cyrilda reaches out and it goes flying toward her. They were bigger than that. I think they were about 8 feet tall when standing straight. Lorik says as Cyrilda passes the sculptor to King Eldrin. I've never seen or heard of this monster, Cyrilda says with a sigh. Me neither. Do you know how they managed to avoid detection? King Eldrin asks. Actually, the Lord mentioned something that might explain it. He said the cavern had a device that repaired the wall. Since it's at the end of the tunnel, the miners might have entered it before getting attacked by these monsters. Then the device repaired it before the others figured out they had gone missing. Cyrilda says, There's something else too. I couldn't see these monsters' aura. They didn't use any form of magic either. Lorik says, surprising them. Really? But everything has aura, even monsters who can't use magic. King Eldrin says before thinking, This could be a new monster, though. We've never heard of it before, after all. Cyrilda says, Still. Eldrin replies before going silent. What if they didn't have a soul? No soul would mean no aura, right? Nixfang asks. That's impossible. Without a soul, it's impossible to survive. Cyrilda replies, But that's only for humans, right? What about monsters? Do all monsters die without a soul? Lorik asks, causing her to sigh. I don't know. The soul is something that's too hard to research and observe. She says, causing him to nod. What if we get their corpses? Could you use your soul law to see if they have a soul? King Eldrin asks, causing Lorik to go wide-eyed before sighing. We can't. We couldn't get away and ended up fighting these monsters. They were very strong. I had my enhancement spell up, and it still tore through my arm. Both my low-level legendary grade cape and soul weapon were torn through like paper. I managed to stab my claws into its head and kill it. But I watched the body disappear. It lit up in a bright white light before a purple crystal appeared. It entered me before the monster's corpse disappeared. Oh, the monster had black blood that burned me on contact. Lorik replies, All right, was there anything else that happened? Cyrilda asks. One more thing. I was too injured to kill the second monster, so when it pinned me down and went to bite me, the untouchable box appeared. It lit up, and a sword came out of it. It stabbed the monster and tore it to shreds using my law of the hunt. Then it returned to the box and went back to my soul. Lorik says, So the untouchable box needed someone with the hunt law then. King Eldrin says before nodding. Thank you, Lorik. I'll send you back to the academy to turn in your task. I'll inform the academy of what happened so they'll know what reward to give you. Oh, and don't worry about these monsters. I'll deal with it. Cyrilda says before teleporting Lorik back to the academy. Before teleporting, Nixfang re-entered Lorik's soul. So what's your plan for these monsters? King Eldrin asks Cyrilda. We'll have to contact the Holy Kingdom. I'll send a messenger with the details of this monster and ask the Holy Queen if she knows what it is. With her law of knowledge, she should know it. Cyrilda says while holding up the miniature ice statue of the monster.